Hello and welcome back to Starting Up. The big question, can a billion-dollar product really be produced out of India? And I have with me Subir and Alok. So Subir, question to you. You meet a number of product entrepreneurs week on week. What in your view are some of the key challenges they are facing, and what would you like to see change?
Yeah, there are three challenges. One is, are you dreaming big enough? I think it has to start with a really big dream.
Right.
If you've got the big dream, then the question comes to, are you close to the biggest market for this product, or the market that has the early adopters for this product? The second thing, which is very important, is once you do that, try and surround yourself with the best people in that market to execute for that play.
Alok, in what you've seen, challenges you face yourself?
Yeah, I think from the entrepreneurial side, I think there's still a big mindset on the revenue.
Right.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs have this, curse on them, saying, where am I going to make revenue from?
Right.
And they look at product and they say, how am I going to get revenue out of this product? So I think it's also a chicken and egg between VC and entrepreneur. Are there enough VCs out there dangling money only for product and saying, hey, are they saying in their first two meetings, we'll talk about revenue later? Are these things being said in those boardrooms?
Are they being said in boardrooms? What are you telling your product companies?
No, I think right now we are telling most of companies, get the market strategy right.
But have you seen a change in mindset? So Alok's question primarily is that, 4 years ago, if the investor didn't see revenues,
right,
he would say, show me revenues and then packing up from it.
4 days ago. So there's enough investors, both of us know, who say, what's the revenue model?
Subir, has that really changed, or is this all hearsay?
I've seen that change happen in the last 4 or 5 years.
Only for a few investors.
For a few investors. I think India probably has about half a dozen to a dozen active VCs today. And I would say a few of them are believing in the philosophy of saying, let's get the product right, let's get the market right, and we worry about revenues later.
Alok, one big challenge everyone talks about is hiring the right people, right? Never get engineers the right price. Is there a challenge you're faced as well? How does one overcome this challenge?
It's a big problem. And you don't overcome it because there aren't any people.
Okay.
So I think there's a big baggage of parenthood.
Right.
What do these young kids tell their parents when they go back home?
Sure.
What is this company you're working? You're making a game called, a sheep game that bleeds every time you make it? Oh my God, bad. Go and work for Wipro, Infosys.
Sure.
And I think we don't have a breeding ground of, I would say, hippies who are saying, I'm sitting in my garage doing nothing.
Okay.
And hey, guess what, Mom? I just invented Foursquare.
So we need Woodstock all over again.
Absolutely.
So one thing in specific, right, is high costs and keeping costs down for entrepreneurs, right? And in the Valley, they handle that by just giving equity to co-founders and to employees. Doesn't seem to work in India.
Right.
Has that changed?
So I think we spend a lot of time on that topic. And a lot of time goes into the fact that, yes, you are trying to leave a job, secure job to a startup. But I think that to be fair out here also is a lot of times the entrepreneur has other sort of financial obligations, and with not in the West. You're very independent in the West.
Right.
And so you may have your sister married, you have your aging and ailing parents, and so there are real issues. So we realize that issue and say, fine, I mean, there has to be some combination of equity and cash. But we're seeing a lot more now in the last 4 or 5 years. People are beginning to understand the value of equity.
I think the biggest challenge is the lack of credible exits in India.
Okay.
It's all hearsay, right?
Right.
You need people to say, this guy he bought a Ferrari, man.
Right.
Forget a Ferrari. There's 20 people who bought Honda Accords because they were in a startup.
Sure.
That story isn't being said yet.
So we have a question to you from the investment landscape. Now I just want to draw a parallel with the US, right? So US, Groupon, LinkedIn, Facebook even, they've got multiple offers from multiple big companies. Right? None of them have sold out. Right? They've all held on. Now if an Indian company is growing as quickly, do you think an Indian entrepreneur has the resilience to hold on and actually create something big?
It's a very funny question you asked me, because I'm half my job is being a psychologist to ask them to hold on. And it's very true. We had 3 acquisition offers of companies last year.
Sure.
And all 3 I spent time with the entrepreneurs saying, do you really want to sell right now? Is the offer good enough?
Right.
And they were...
But in some cases you've also sold, right?
In some cases, when you know as you or an entrepreneur across the table say, I think it may be difficult to scale this further.
Okay.
You say, fine. Okay. But when you know there's an upside from here, and then it's a matter of you sort of sitting down with the entrepreneur saying, I think there's an upside that's far greater than the upside you being offered right now.
Right.
But it's difficult. It's very difficult. So now we're trying to create structures where we're saying, do we do a part secondary for the entrepreneur? Let the entrepreneur have a little cash out, so that they have enough of their sort of will to build this into the next level.
Alok, I want to shift this discussion to another topic, right? So we saw the services case studies, and something that's surprising in some ways, how Indian services companies haven't really moved to products or to innovation. Now, in the US, they say in Cisco, trespassers will be acquired, right? But how many acquisitions has Infosys made or Wipro made? Very few. You can count them on your fingertips. What in your view is going wrong there?
Mindset. It's just a mindset. I mean, take the mindset from the top, right? They're all talking about customer, client acquisition, cash flow, annuity of the customer, Does anybody in Infosys or TCS feel bad that they didn't build Twitter? It begins by feeling bad, I think.
Suvir, India has been talking about moving higher up the value chain for the last decade, but this products has never happened. Why isn't TCS or Infosys working on products?
No, I guess it's the culture of the organization. I mean, our product is happening outside the organization, right? If you look at today, we are seeing like one company a day,
Right.
but it's not TCS or Infosys that's doing it.
No, I think it's a very clear case of what I call P&L philosophy versus balance sheet philosophy.
Okay.
All these are operating companies. They're used to quarter on quarter.
Right.
They got to hit the street and above. All of them are trending downwards anyway.
Right. So another question. Let's assume this happens and Indian companies move into a product mindscape. One big thing in the US is that the market automatically recognizes this, right? So immediately the revenue to valuation ratio goes off the chart. So you look at Apple versus Microsoft, for instance, right? There's a clear differentiation in valuation. Do you think the Indian markets are evolved enough to look at the difference and actually reward that difference?
Not today. I think we're way beyond that right now. I think maybe you may need a few products or success in the country to actually be able to, for the Indian markets to realize that this actually is happening globally. Indian companies are being valued extensively globally, whether M&A or maybe listings outside the country.
Right.
And I think over time, Indian markets will realize the fact that global product companies out of India are very valuable.
How many years are those, you think?
You know, it all depends. I think you could have the Sholay movement of product companies in India and then Bollywood changes, right? One single app from India, a game, you know, can it be the angry cow instead of the angry bird that, you know, makes us all famous? I don't know, man. But I think the scale provides, you know, fame very fast. Very soon you'll have one big killer app in India that doesn't make money, but everybody's playing.
Sure.
And I see that happening in the next 24 months.
But I think exits are on the anvil. I would say that in the next 4 or 5 years, you probably will see a slew of exits happening in the product and technology space in India that will start getting people to start noticing the value of these companies. I think the world has recognized that India is big in building product companies, but I think you'll see a slow transition from companies exiting for $50, $100, $200 million, and over time, I think in the next couple of years, you'll see the large exit happen. But I'm very bullish. I think within the next 5 years, you will see a very large company exit out of India.
So less than 5 years is clearly the duration both Alok and Suvir believe in. Alok believes it could happen in the next 24 months, and we are certainly going to be looking forward to it. I'd like to thank our panelists for coming on to this special. It's time for us to slip into a quick break, but coming up.
Chetan Indap of staffoncontract.com makes his pitch to super angel Vishal Gondal.